I don't know why I'm trying to be all professional. We black. Like
I'm like, you can chill.
I can be
You can
black.
chill.
Hope, thank you so much for joining me today. This is, oh my gosh, Chris, what is this? Our fifth episode? This will be
Yeah,
episode
fifth
number five.
episode, man. Fifth.
So thank you we saved the best for fifth.
Come on now.
um, Hope, you are an activist, you're an
Yeah.
educator, you're an advocate, you are all around, just a Renaissance woman. Do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are, your story, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everybody, my name is Hope Giselle. I'm all the things that Jovan just said I am, on top of being, Beyonce, but that's a different Hannah Montana story that I'll tell y'all later. I manage them both very well. But uh outside of all of that, I've been doing activism and advocacy work for about the last 15 years of my life. And I've been blessed enough to be able to work my way from boots on the ground to leading, organizations, to being executive directors of, national marches and all of that jazz. And I've just gotten a lot of love out of advocating for all of my intersections. I love the fact that you are one of the first people that has not called me a trans activist, because I am an advocate. I am an activist and advocate who happens to be trans. I do not just advocate for trans people, right? Especially living in this particular body, that would be asinine, in my opinion, to just focus on one part of those intersections. And so I don't. I am ridiculously proud to be all of the things that I am, regardless of the way that the world tries to paint and tell me that I shouldn't be. And I think that we'll probably get into the nitty and gritty of it all
Yeah.
later, but that's the elevator pitch. That's my 15.
Now, how long have you been doing the work? Like 5 years, 10 years? How like
Oh,
how
oh,
what do you what's your
oh
how long
no.
have you been in these trenches, in these streets?
I wanna say I've been in the trenches, in the streets, probably since, what, sophomore year of college? I went to, Alabama State, which is an HBCU in the South of Alabama, in Montgomery, Alabama. Um, and as the only openly trans person to be at that school, and the first openly trans person to kind of sort of name those things, I've been advocating for myself and the rights of queer people, um, and femme folk since then. I had to advocate to get a dorm. I had to advocate to be able to go to class. I had to advocate to make sure that my teachers respected my name change after it was legal. And this was before, we started to see some of these conversations where it was kind of a given that teachers had to do that. So I had to learn about Title IX very early. I had to learn about, going down to the courthouse and figuring
Mhm.
out like ways to get paperwork. So I had to bring it back to class and like have them respect me. Like there were so many different things that I had to do. And actually, when I left school, my first advocacy job was at Urge, and they were a reproductive rights organization. And at this particular time, it wasn't even about trans women; it was about cis women and trans men being able to navigate reproductive care. But
Yeah.
I reminded a lot of those cis women in the room that, trans men aren't indeed, folks that are also able to carry babies. And I think that y'all are leaving them out of the conversation in a way that could be detrimental to the movement once people get wind of the amazing work that y'all are doing, but leaving out everyone who has the capacity. And so I did that work with them for about 2 years. I worked back and forth with them. And then I got into the political scope of things right after the uplifting of or the announcement of marriage equality, when we first got it back in, I think, 2015 or 2018. And it was one of those things where I had to learn about legislative policies. I had to learn about the cases that came before. I had to learn about why we needed the Equality Act in the first place. There were so many different things that went along with my emotions. It was easy to go viral for saying the salacious thing. It was easy to like read everybody in the government in the room. It was easy to do all of that, but I did not know much because I didn't pay attention in civics class about the actual judicial system.
Yeah.
And so I had to kinda sort of go back to the drawing board on that, do a lot more research, get a lot more class in, and come back. And once I did, there was an obvious switch and change in path and that, and then we ended up in the pandemic. And during that time, I think that there was nothing to do but talk to each other. But in talking to each other, I think that we all figured out that racists were more racist than we knew. Bigots were way more bigoted than we thought, and the misogyny and patriarchy was living in a lot more men than we understood and a lot more women than we cared to admit, right?
Well, what was that moment? Because we've all have those instances where we're sort of breaking out of our shells and coming into this understanding of the political landscape and intersectionality. But what was really your moment of like, I love to find out what radicalized people. What was really that thing that you either experienced or saw where you were just like, no, something is up, and I need to dive into this head first and see what's going on.
Tony McDade, I think, was a real tipping point for me. I think that the gay marriage thing kind of was my opening to all of this, but I think that Tony McDade really solidified for me that this is what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was because it happened almost directly after or during, if I'm being honest, the George Floyd incident. And what I remember happening was George Floyd had been killed.
Hmm.
I got on Facebook and, I had left a few thoughts about George in general. And then I made a very controversial post about how if this had been a gay man, for instance, or if this had been a trans man, for instance, you know, I would hope that y'all would have this same empathy and sympathy that we're showing very prematurely. And I would hope that y'all will also debunk all of the other bullshit because it doesn't matter. It was a black man murdered.
Yeah.
And I got an influx of these people in my comments like, "Absolutely, we would. Like, this doesn't make any sense. You're trying to deflect from the situation. Like, y'all are always trying to co-opt the movement." And literally about 30 minutes later, Tony McDade was killed.
And I
Video
think
footage.
I think it's a real testament because, you know, George Floyd, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, so many people know these names, and they can rattle. I Most people don't know Tony McDade.
No,
They just have no idea.
no. And
And
it
so I think,
happened like 30 minutes after each other.
yeah, I think that's a real I think it's a real. And, oftentimes in these conversations, we talk about how, um, the victimization and the violence around trans people, especially Black trans women, how
Mhm.
much higher it is, in our community. In me personally, I blame a lot of that on Maury and Jerry Springer. I will go
Andrew.
down swinging that the
Andrew.
damage those 2 did is irreparable.
Look, Jenny Jones too. She
Mm,
don't get a pass.
mm,
Jenny
mhm,
Jones and
mhm,
Ricky
mhm.
Lake,
All of those Ricky
depending on the
yes.
season.
All of
Okay.
those, it's like, because, I mean, even I remember I'd be home from school, my parents, whatever, or whoever was watching me had Jerry Springer up on the TV, and
Yeah,
every other story is someone.
yeah,
And this was before, we had, I mean, the word transgender existed, but this is before that was the word that everybody knew to use, right?
mhm.
So half the time it's just people throwing out slurs. The other half of the time it's just the joke of the joke that's in so many old things of, oh, it's just, oh, man in a dress. And it's like, you really have to. Even I, who, I grew up surrounded by Black people in the Black community. I was incredibly homophobic, transphobic, all of those things early in high school. It wasn't until I started researching and like getting around these people and having exposure to people that where I was like, oh no, I'm the problem. It's me. And so I think there's so much. How do we, obviously you don't have to have the full answer to this, but how do we combat all of this stuff within the Black community so that all Black people can be included in the fight for liberation?
You know what? In my opinion, there's a twofold thing that has to happen. We have to have conversations with Black women who engage with Black men about their internalized homo and transmisia. And a lot of people don't like to talk about it, especially those Black women, because they feel like because they're not the ones going out and harming us or killing us or stabbing us personally, they feel like, well, what do you mean? It's not us. And it's like, but it is you, sis. It is. Like, you don't realize, but you put that knife in the hand. You put that gun in the back pocket. You set up those hands to be prepared to strangle somebody this evening. Um, and I think that there's a lot of people that are gonna cringe listening to me say that and like, "Oh, here she go, blaming black women for black men's misbehavior." And it's like, yes, but how many of us look at our little brothers or our sons or our nephews or somebody else's kid and go, "Oh, that little boy got some sugar in his tank," right? And it's not, you're not saying that as an observation just because you think it's cool. You're saying it because you believe that there's something negative
Yeah.
to be made out of that comment. And I tell people all the time that men see that. They see the adverse reaction that women have to femininity in men. They see the adverse reaction that some women have towards trans women. They see all of those things, and not discussing it makes it a lot easier to absolve the entirety of the problem, which is that men who like women, right, do not discard cis women because they are also interested in trans women. And the problem is that there's a majority issue here where the majority of women that you will have access to are cisgender. And if I want to have access to the majority pool, then sometimes I believe that I have to shit on this minority pool in order to be able to have access to anybody at the end of the day. And if we're not having that conversation with women and they don't understand the power that they hold, then they continue to be obtuse or believe that they are not a part of the problem. And then the issue with men is that we're teaching men to be independent, to go get therapy, to be the best version of yourself, while also asking them, be the best version of yourself as masculinely possible, no matter what kind of guy you are. We used to allow black nerds and blurs to just be black nerds and blurs. We used to allow the science black guys to just be the science black guys and the jocks to be the jocks and the thugs to be the thugs. Now everybody kind of has to sort of be a black boy joy frolicking ass nigga on top of holding on to some sense of toxic masculinity while actively trying to pretend like you're healing and on this forever journey. And
Yeah.
none of those things make sense if you don't actually understand that you get to be those things regardless of how it shows up. And all of those things present as masculinity regardless of somebody else's warped idea of how you should present based on your aesthetics or stereotypical phenotypes.
And to touch on both of what you said there, um, uh, uh, especially in the first one, I think not only with correcting the issues in the Black community, but it's something that I've noticed as a person who talks to all of these people on the opposite end of the aisle
Yeah.
who are vehemently against. I mean, you've heard the conversations I've
Mhm.
had. People are vehemently against trans people being valid and having rights and all. And I've realized that a lot of the times with women, not just black women, but women in general,
Mhm.
they feel like holding on to the ability to hold on to this patriarchal protection that they think they have, where they think, well, if I do this, then this system that has been oppressing me is going to actually protect me. And there's a great book, it's called A Brief History of Transmisogyny, that dives into this very well. And and then on the other fold, I've been saying this for so long that I think there's this massive issue, and it's so exemplified in the Black community with how Black men want that piece of the power that white supremacy offers. And they
Absolutely.
can't get that piece of the power if they go against what is considered the norm in like a white Christian worldview. So for
Yep.
them, anything LGBTQ is going to separate them from these white men whose power they want. And we see it come out in the way the homophobia and the transphobia, and then we see it come out in the way in like the misogynoir in the Black community, and how Black men see the way white men treat the women in their social groups, and they go, well, I have to treat the women in my social groups this way in order to feel connected to whatever this power that I'm lacking is. And I don't know the best way to combat this. I mean, education, I hope, is the biggest, but like half of it needs to be some level of exposure. But then, like, how do you do the expo? Because to me, it's just so much that I've noticed. So much of these people don't see
Mm-mm.
anyone in the LGBTQ as people.
No, they don't. But I think that it also, don't get me wrong, all of that, and also Imma start whooping y'all ass. Like, and I need that to be, like, real, like, clear. Like I'm a fuck you up. Like I'm not like I just don't have the energy like all the time to be kumbaya, let's educate. Like
Hmm.
there are some people that I think really want to do that work and the conversations might be hard and they might be difficult and uncomfortable, but you can kind of tell that a person is like working through their shit. Whereas there are some people that genuinely, like you said, just vehemently like they hate us. And there's a desire in that hate to embarrass or disparage or to ruin, whatever little platform you're building for yourself. And so for me, outside of all of that shit, I'm gonna start whooping y'all ass. Like I
But
just don't.
but you're right about that. But also, like, you shouldn't have to. Black women shouldn't have to be the ones that have to educate black men. Trans people shouldn't be the ones that have to educate cisgender people. Like, part of people will always say to me, they'll be like, Jovan, thank you for having these conversations. I'm like, yeah, for I can put myself on the line. There's a reason why, like, I very rarely have conversations about like systemic racism in my debates, because I'm like, I don't feel like arguing about the things I go through every single day, but I
Yeah.
will gladly stick up for other people so that you don't have to sit on the front lines of this. I'd rather somebody be throwing shit at me than going and throwing shit at you guys.
That's a yes and I say that because I'm really good friends with Consciously and like
Hmm.
that's my brother, but I get him together all the time on this. And it's because what I don't like is trans people are out here living these things. We're out here
Hmm.
busting our ass. We learn these things. We learn the jargon. We put it out there. We do all the things, right? And then you have cis creators like you, Lee, Lene, OBO, all of these other people. And y'all get online and be like, trans people are people. 10,000 followers, all of this engagement, all of the things, being invited to spaces that are
Yeah.
exclusively for queer people, except for the ally of the year, which happens to be a cis person. Like, it's just those things are annoying. And
Hmm.
that annoys me when I see a cis person being able to come online and say the same things that trans people have been saying for years, and then they blow up. And there's no actual collaboration with community outside of being like, thank y'all so much for following me.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's important and the reason why it grinds my fucking gears is because now that education and those things come with survival tools that trans people
Hmm.
need. That engagement quantifies into collectible checks. People are
Yeah.
paying their mortgages, S off of TikTok. And so when I hop on TikTok and somebody's brand, or at least a good enough part of their brand, is folks knowing that this is a cis person that stands up for trans people, and I'm looking at the engagement and the numbers on a person who is delivering something that they've read or saw a trans person say, and there are trans people that are struggling and trying to make it, and the views are giving in the hundreds, if that, it burns me. And I feel like when I see that y'all are actually in community with some trans people, and I never see those people being platformed, or like I never see a video being shared. And it's not to say that I'm coming for you in
No,
particular,
no, please.
but I see this all the time. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful because we do need it sometimes because people are not going to hear the message from us. But it's like, if you're going to regurgitate, open the video with yourself and then make sure people know where you got that information from, or send people back to folks that you're following that you appreciate, because we're not going to get the $20,000 Facebook booking to come and talk about our own community, but y'all are.
Yeah.
'Cause, oh, it's great that you're a black man doing this thing that most black men don't do, but where does that leave the trans people that are actually like, that actually can't afford to do anything other than sex work or this? And
Yeah.
now we can barely do this because people are like, "Oh, why would I get the tranny to come in here and make us all uncomfortable when we can hear the straight man talk about the trannies and not be uncomfortable?" Like, and it's just like,
What do you
that
think?
sucks.
So I know, for me, for my channel personally, I have most of the trans friends who have helped me cultivate my arguments. They come on with me.
Yeah,
I try to open the floor so that it's not just me debating all of it all the day. But like, what do we as like cis people who are trying to be uh I don't like saying, I half the time don't like saying allies, because I don't
yeah,
want to just be, I don't want to be an ally. I want to be an
an
accomplice. I don't want
accomplice,
to just
yeah,
be, yeah, but like, I agree. I see all the time these I won't name names because I'm not that kind of person, but I see these people who, when they go online, they don't share these voices. They don't try to listen. That's the biggest one for me, is seeing the people who don't even try to allow the trans people in their spaces to offer critique or criticism
Yeah.
over the things they're saying. What would be your advice to someone in that position? Like, what would you say to them? Like, this is like, hey, you need to operate X, Y, or Z.
Let me be very clear. Operate your platform however the fuck you wanna operate it, right? Especially if you I think that because I'm a nuanced person,
Hmm.
I'm gonna give you the like, do your thing and also operate however you wanna operate, but just understand and know that not everybody is going to think that you're the Messiah or the second coming of, a trans savior. I
Yeah.
think that there are gonna be people like me that depending on the topic or the subject matter or what's happening, that are gonna call you in and say like, "Hey, okay, that was cute, but it would have been better if a trans man would have said that instead of you trying to explain for him what his experience is looking like.
Yeah.
That's cool, that's great, but, like, did you actually consult with a non-binary person? Because if you had, you would know that, like, sibling would be a proper thing. Like, I think I'm never gonna tell a person how to run their shit on their shit because the beauty of social media is that instead of complaining in somebody else's comments, you can always create your own.
Yep.
There's no need to, like, bitch and moan about what somebody else did or didn't cover because you can cover whatever you wanna cover on your shit, right?
Hmm.
But understand and know that there are probably going to be some people that are going to come against it, not because it is bad, but because it does not platform or center the experience of the people who are actually going through it. And I think that as long as people understand and know that, if your goal is to actually create space for those people to be heard, you'll do it, you'll adjust. And if your goal is just to collect the check off of a hot topic for now, then you'll do that. But there are consequences either way.
Well, and I think, as somebody who watches other creators doing the same thing, I notice at least when it's very obvious that someone is only spitting back what they've heard and they haven't actually digested the information to understand it.
Yep.
They're just like, oh, well, I heard someone saying this, so this is part of the issue in the debate space, period. But hearing people, I always say, like, hey, if you're gonna make the, because people say to me, Jovan, how do I get into this? I'm like, if you're getting into this, you have to understand this is a job. Like, you
Right.
can't go into this half-assed because you're going to make it worse if you're going there trying to argue with somebody. It's why, like me personally, I will never debate the trans experience. The minute someone goes, well, what do you think it feels like to be? I'm like, I couldn't tell you. I'm not trans. Don't ask
Right.
me that question. Ask a trans. I can tell you the science behind sex and gender and the brain and things like that. I can't tell you the experience. I can't tell you. I can read a stat off of a computer, but that's not going to give you. I feel the same way when I watch white creators talk about systemic racism. Listen, I'll listen to Jim Rothstein every day talk about redlining because I don't think there's a single person on the planet who knows more about it than he does. But I don't want him to tell me how the black people felt at the time.
Come on now.
Like, there's a difference, and I'm always telling people, like, if you're going to advocate for a community that's not yours, you can't tell people how that community feels. that
No,
is that is not your place. You
no.
need to have the space for somebody in that community to tell you how they feel about the stuff going on, especially since no one's a monolith. I mean, we have trans people who are jumping and jiving for the conservative party. And
Baby. Come on, Blair.
I don't know. I don't know how, like, it's like sticking your hand in a fire ant nest. What are you doing?
Look, but you know what? I think that there are some trans people, and I make room for the fact that there are some people who have decided that the easy way is to do the thing that's harder on them publicly, but softer on their life.
Hmm.
I would not be surprised if after all of this stuff, like, really goes down and fizzles out, that we find out that some of these people were just trying to survive. And to be
Yeah.
quite honest, that's the reason and that's how I go to sleep at night without having to, like, roast people like Blair every day. And it's because being a trans woman, sometimes, like, I know that girls and guys do what they gotta do
Yep.
every single day, and who am I to say that that's just not what Blair feel like she gotta do, right? Um, it's unfortunate, but in my mind, that is the fairy tale that I tell myself when I see
Now,
people
why
like
do you
that.
think Candace does it?
You know what? Because I think Candace gets off on being a token in a community that one, she's always had this desire to be a part of in a wicked way, but also it's the big high school fuck you to all the black girls that were black in a way that she doesn't and can't relate with. And I think that, and I want to be very clear, because I think as a Black woman, we all kind of know girls like Candace. We all grew up with at least one Candace, and it was the girl that was smart. It was the girl that wasn't really an issue or a problem, but it was because she was smart and she tried to relate to everybody, but that just made her come off a certain way. And then she didn't have any friends. And then all of her friends were white because they let her get away with stupid stuff. And then she got teased by the Black. Like, we all know the arc that leads to a Candace Owens, right? And I think that part of it at the beginning was a big fuck you and a big like, ooh, I found my family. And now I think also like there's a grift that comes with it. She gets millions of dollars for saying the things that she says, whether they're accurate, factual, whether she has to go on, a Twitter fight ring for 17 days and 17 nights. The right doesn't care. So
I keep telling people I don't know what the number is. I'm not gonna say there isn't a number that wouldn't turn me Candace. Like, it just depends on how big that number is. Because her number is huge. She makes a lot of money.
No tea, no shade.
But
No tea. The people that I love that love me are gonna know what the vibe is. And so the rest of y'all who are gonna forget that I even exist 6 months after I'm done collecting my last check, I could care less, right?
Did you ever see that story? It was so long ago, but it was during like Trump's first run where that Black girl made a bunch of like MAGA t-shirts and sold them and was like, I'm a Black and everybody around me hates me because I'm MAGA. And then she came out later and was like, I lied, I just needed money.
I just needed money. And thank y'all. I appreciate it.
like good on you, sis.
Look, I love it, but there are so many things that go into the Candace Owens thing and people like that. And honestly, I think if we really pull all the layers back, and when we do get a chance to really pull the layers back, it's just a bunch of people that needed a coin.
Well, and you can see it in Candace, like, because you can see when she butts heads.
Yeah,
you can see the old Candace start to come out where she's like, I do think the weird Charlie Kirk conspiracies are getting a little bit much, but other than that, she fighting.
That woman is very interesting when it comes to her protection of the white man and his gaze.
But that
that and then leave that man's wife alone. Please leave, because you done got sued at this point. Leave Bridget alone. Leave her alone.
Okay, but his wife. The stuff with JD Vance is kind of weird though, right? It's not just me.
Oh no, it is. And now let me be very clear. I don't give Candace a lot of credit, but she might be because in the ways that this is like, and then Usha went from looking like Jasmine from Aladdin to looking like the mother on on the Rapunzel movie, like in less than a couple months. And there is this blonde Barbie aesthetic that they want these men to have, and Usha obviously does not fit that. So
okay, speaking of blonde Barbie, what is this turn? This is going to date the podcast a little bit, but what is this turn with Marjorie Taylor Greene, where usually it's like a broken clock is right twice a day?
Man.
She had at least 5 rights.
Man. They did not pay Marjorie what they told that lady they was going to pay her. And sis said, oh, the check stops and so do I.
That literally, Trump was like, you're not getting into the Senate. And she said, then we're going to tell everyone you're a pedophile. I don't know what you want me to do. Those are your only 2 options.
Fuck it. And I'm here, like we just got through explaining, like, it's not just the Blacks and the minority folks. Like, some of these white folks signed it up because they was like, okay, cool. I can do that for that. But if I'm not getting that anymore, then I'm going to admit that we're all racist and that this shit just needs to, like, I'm just going to admit it. Like, and I love that for her. I love that for her.
Like, obviously, I'll never fully trust her because the Jewish space laser shit was weird as hell.
Absolutely.
But, like, I got to, at least it would appear that most of the people that I see in the Republican Party, even the pedophile stuff, they don't have a hard line for. At least MTG seems to have a very hard line in the sand that, like, at least pedophilia, I'm putting my foot down.
Everybody should, especially Nancy Mace, Little Miss, I got raped every 5 minutes, but you're supporting these men who, I mean, like, have been it's case after case after case after conviction after conviction after conviction. And these are the people that you're standing behind 10 toes down, and you have an issue with every other community except for the community of these actual rapists.
Which is why I'll never understand these black conservative men and women. I'm like, you're riding for these people. Listen, obviously, black people can and have been predators. Like
Correct.
there is issues in the black community with the hypersexualization of our women, especially at a young age. But to ride so hard for a president who we all know,
We all know.
I mean, listen, the Bubba stuff aside, which is the funniest thing to happen in American politics in I think ever. Like, you're riding for a group of people that would take your women. Like, when I look at black men riding for them, I'm like they, for years we were targets of white sexual violence, and
Yeah.
you're just allowing more of this to happen.
Yes.
I'll never understand it.
There is a there's a dichotomy that I will never understand in some of these men who believe that adjacency to whiteness comes through the ability to be seen as desirable by black women. I mean, by white women,
Yeah.
sorry. And the funny thing about that is white women seeing black men desirable has never been nothing except a slow death sentence, if you ask me. I'm so sorry. And I don't know how you can look at case after case after case of black men being murdered because of his proximity to a white woman. Not even always his attraction to a white woman, not even always his affiliation or sexual relationship with her. And it's just weird that these guys are still out here vying for it.
You know, I keep getting clips on, you know how TikTok will be, half of TikTok is movie clips now.
Yeah.
And it do work because I'm like, oh, I'm watching this tonight. Thank you, TikTok.
Right.
But I keep getting clips of that Emmett Till biopic that came out a while ago, in which they have him whistling at that woman, which it was obviously, we all know at this point, was a stone cold lie.
Yeah.
And it's like, watching these things and knowing this, I mean, I get messages, and I don't even, I think I'm an okay dude. I think I do well for myself, but
Mhm.
I get messages from older white women, like 40s and 50s, where it's just, I read this and I'm like, this is you fetishizing.
Ugh.
Like, it's weird. I don't like it. It's that whole, like, you're just so smart and articulate, and I'm like, and handsome. And I'm like, stop, man.
Mm-mm-mm.
Stop.
Right.
I'm not some, and we see this where uh white women, and I always like to be careful when I talk about white people. I want people to know at the bulk of this, I'm talking about whiteness. I really refer to whiteness because whiteness and the things that whiteness infects in white people does affect in other groups. So
Absolutely.
I just like to be aware, but like the fetishizing, the wanting black babies, the wishing that their kids had the like I mean, it's the same myth that was spread around of the, like, the mythical mulatto during
Yeah.
slave times. So
Yeah.
it's always interesting to me, this, I don't know what you call it, but this need that black men still have for that validation that whiteness gives them.
And but it's a very temporary validation.
Mhm.
You can be one of the most powerful black men in the world, and there's still gonna be a white man more powerful than you, and some of them live in a trailer park. And I think that, like, you have to be really, really, really deeply read in some instances, and in other instances, you have to have had lived a life where you watch these things happen to people that are either extremely close to you or people that are very reminiscent to the person that you are in order for you to believe that there's a possibility that it could happen to you. I think the reason why you have so many men that are navigating this is that y'all we fail to realize that this world is bigger than social media. There are so many more people in this world, a lot of whom are not even on social media.
Yeah.
So we can assume that everybody has seen a thing, but not everybody has. And when your lived experience is that of watching black men in your neighborhood get with these white women and be treated better by the sheriff or be treated better by the principal at the school because you're married to this, so and so, and her father is the so and so of the town, that becomes the goal. That becomes the thing that you strive to. And I think that an example that we can all in the black community, for the most part, be able to see is when we grew up in the 90s. every video vixen, every star video girl had to have a ringlet curl and couldn't be no darker than Beyonce. Like it was one of those things where it was just like that was what it was going to be, and that felt like an assimilation or or an adjacency to whiteness that felt good. And so I think that we have to be mindful of the fact that like some of these people are chasing it because they have not seen examples that remind them of themselves or that are reminiscent to who they are at their core. And then some of them are doing it because there's an adjacency that feels good because there are people that are telling you that these images make you a man in a way that you can't do just by exuding masculinity.
Yeah.
There's a type of woman that helps you to claim that for yourself.
I like that you mentioned the assimilation aspect, because I mean, look, I get it. If you are a super rich Black person and you vote in red, I kind of understand it. I get it.
Yeah.
You benefit in a little bit.
Yeah.
But like this idea that we have to water ourselves down so vehemently. TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, all of the platforms I stream on, I can say the N-word on those platforms.
Uh-huh.
They do not, they say if you are of that community, you can use these phrases. I still feel weird when I drop the N-word. I use it in my daily life all the time, but I still feel weird when I'm streaming. And I'm like, is it because I'm still just fearful of the time when like you couldn't say it? Or is it because I'm like watering myself down for an audience that I know is, most of my audience is white. So is it just this weird watered down because it is a word that is in my vernacular normally?
Look, I think in certain instances that can be the thing, but if you hear and you're watching me, I'm not gonna be uncomfortable because you tuned in to a Black person, and so you should assume that this experience is gonna be inherently Black, and if that's not something that you wanna see, it is not my job to make you comfortable in my space with my people and the way that we understand each other. It's your job to either learn to be comfortable or get the fuck on. Like I'm not going to. I think that in certain instances we've learned to code switch ourselves for the sake of being able to hold on to an audience that's really just there to observe us like a zoo, right? I don't care about people that came here to observe the trans experience through my lens of whatever get ready with me I'm doing that day, or me and my homegirls doing a battle on TikTok. I don't care to make you comfortable in that sense because you agreed when you sat there and you saw that for those 5 seconds that you stopped and said, this is where I want to be. And so that means that you should be okay with everything that happens in this space that you decided to be in. Because otherwise, you can continue to scroll.
That zoo comment is so accurate too. Like I would really love, I doubt there's a way to get this information, but I would love to know when most cisgender people, especially cisgender men, when they click on profiles, and I know they do this because I've been told by some of them that do this, when they click on the profile of a creator or someone they know who might be trans, it's a scroll game. And they're scrolling to try to find like the earliest photos they can of people. Like, and I've been literally told that this has happened. They try to, I don't know what it is. I don't know what this fascination. Well, I do. I have a theory, and I'll see what you think about it. But this I don't know, because like if you want to know about trans people, there are so many sources that you can go to. There are countless documentaries, countless
Yeah.
interviews, countless books, countless all this research. But like it's like they have this weird, and I think part of it is because they want to catch somebody. They feel like they're catching somebody, and they feel it's the transvestigating people,
Yeah.
right? But I have the reason why I think cisgender men, I have two immediate ones in my head of why they're why transphobia is such a encompassing thing for them.
Mhm.
Three technically, but two that I have fleshed out, one that I'm still vibing with. The first one is the very clear one. They're attracted to trans women, and because of internalized homophobia, they think it makes them gay, when it's like, homie, you're first of all, you're weird for that. It's
Right.
like who cares who you're attracted to? Just be with who you want to be with. It does not matter. But the second reason that I think is a bit more like psychologically fulfilling to me is I think that men have a very big
Aversion.
aversion. Thank you. Jeez. They have a very big aversion to any perceived threat to masculinity.
Yeah.
And to them, the biggest threat to masculinity is someone who they perceive as ditching their masculinity entirely.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so they view trans women as a threat to them. And it's just such a weird, especially when black men do it. I'm like, bro, how are you an oppressed? Like, you're oppressed, dog. What are you doing? You are like,
Yes. Yes. But, like, that it's really I'm so glad because usually I have to bring that point up. But no, absolutely, that's a thing that, like, happens, I think, time and time and time and time and time again, when it comes down to people, like, trying to do this transvestigation and agreeing with the opposition. I always tell folks, like, you wanna watch, a member of the KKK and a member of the Black Panther Party agree on something, say the word tranny and watch them become best friends, right? Um, and that should tell you a lot about what the white supremacist movement understands about Black men, and what they understand about Black people most of the time at large, is that we're not looking for freedom from oppression. We're looking for a permission to be able to oppress another group without y'all infringing upon that,
a
right?
100%. Oh my gosh.
And that's what trans people have become, is the group that white people have essentially said and sanctioned, "Okay, we'll give y'all them.
Mhm.
If y'all help us with them, that
I
can be
think it's
your."
right now. I think it's trans people, especially trans women, because
Uh-huh.
they don't they don't give half a damn about
No,
trans men. They don't
no,
even think about it.
no.
Now, I do wonder, part of me wonders if there is some linking between, at least in the black circles I've run with, I've always seen this acceptance of lesbian black women,
Yeah,
who especially who are I don't remember the term that
masculine thing.
the yeah, very mass presenting lesbian black women, and their acceptance into black male groups,
Oh, yeah.
um and wondering if there's a linking between that and why they're so much more comfortable around trans men. But there the fact that trans women have become this priority target, and then brown immigrants have become this priority target, that basically every single group on the right has gone, these people are all full. There was just a story that came out where a school had like 30,000 children absent because they were all immigrant children,
Yep.
either parents of were legal or undocumented, doesn't matter. the that's an issue, that these kids are so afraid that they're not going to school, and every comment is like, well, they shouldn't be there, good, get them out. And I'm like, these are children.
That
you
y'all claim y'all care so much about.
you've opened the floodgates of oppression and hatred so much that
Oh,
you're willing to do. I mean, you've always been willing to do this to children, but like, on Beyonce's internet.
oh,
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And especially her special needs children too, right? Right? Like, it's one of those things where we have to be mindful of the fact that these people have not just become, like you said, this is not a new thing for them. These people have always wanted to be the one, the only, the most exclusive, and I can't wait for the day that it goes on sale, because everything exclusive goes on sale at some point, including bigotry, right? And it's done this over and over and over again, and the history books have proven that this shit doesn't work, because random hatred for people who don't deserve it never holds up. Eventually, people get tired of being bigots for no reason. It takes a lot to dislike somebody who did something to you. It takes even more to dislike somebody who has done absolutely nothing to you. And while it's cool when the entire group is doing it, when they move on, because let me be very clear to all of the bigots that watch Jovan's show, and to all of the bigots and the weirdos that are just here to be in the comments and be like, "That's a man," and "Fuck you, Javon." Like, I just need y'all to also understand that the anger that you feel and the reason why you are a part of this movement is not the same reason why the people that are at the top and leading that movement are a part of that movement. And when they have gotten what they desire and what they need, they're going to move on from this topic like a bad habit. And when people start to call you the bigot that you are vehemently, they're going to leave you behind. And do you know why? Because most of the people that are leading these arguments around hating trans people are fucking trans people. They are putting up a trans woman in a penthouse so good it would make your entire life gag, right? That's the reason why our president can be out here allegedly sucking dick and still be the leader of the free world, talking about how he can't stand the gays. A lot of these people are not on your side the way that you think that they are. They have used you to be able to push an agenda that they could not be able to get through without the ignorance and the hatred that you have in your heart. But don't ever believe that your hate and their hate is the same hate. It's not.
And the second it becomes beneficial for them to hate you, they will. It's happened so many times. I love talking about like the dock worker strikes in like the early 1900s and how Black and Irish dock workers were like this. They were so tight until the big white dockers like, we need the Irish people now. So you guys can be white now. Yeah, as long as you hate those dirty Negroes, you could be white. We just need you to affirm. So I see people, and I will name some names. I see people like Joel Patrick, who I'm sure you've seen, like selling those dumb little black those dumb cards of his, whatever.
Here. Don't even get me started.
We could do a whole episode of my hatred of Joel Patrick.
Oh my God, you know what? I would go on a tangent. I'm gonna let it rock.
I'm fine with the tangent. Oh, listen, I'm fine being petty.
Oh my goodness. I can't stand that little motherfucker. I can't stand him. And the fact that this bitch is peddling these goddamn ant turds is killing me. I can't. But you know what? It ain't my money. And so I'm gonna let stupidity be stupid.
I just at some point, and I feel like I see a lot of the Black community shedding some of this. It's so interesting, the amount of I just talked to a young Black man the other day who was like, yeah, I've been going over these issues in my head where me and my brothers have been talking about gender, and I'm just realizing gender doesn't make sense. And through our call, he's realizing, I'm like, are you do you think are you non-binary? And he's like, they're like, they didn't say yet one way or another, but they're like, I think I might be. I need to look at that a little more for myself. And I'm like, this is what we allowed this Western Christian, like Judeo-Christian belief system to infect Africa, where you go and you see there are so many gender diverse cultures, so many sexually diverse cultures. And no, what we need to do is we need to do the Jesus thing and have a wife and a husband and 2 kids. Oh, wait, except here comes Mr. White Man to throw all our husbands in jail and then blame the mothers for having to be on government assistance after we've thrown their husbands in jail.
Child.
It's a cycle. When are we? And I'm just like, and I'm so sick of those Black people who are like, well, if we just took personal accountability, just take personal.
Shut the fuck up. Like, what do you mean? How can you take personal accountability from being drugged halfway across the fucking world without your fucking consent? And I don't want to hear about, oh, well, we didn't go through that. You weren't personally beaten. There are some of us in this world who still have grandparents that are alive. And I'm not talking about great grandparents. I'm talking about grandparents that were alive long enough to see the Montgomery bus boycotts happen in real fucking time. Don't tell me like, oh, we are so fucking far removed. I watched my grandfather sit back and like burst into tears looking at certain movies because he had to live through that shit. So and that's not my great granddaddy. That is my grandfather. That is my mom's dad. Like, let's not act like this happened 2,000 years ago and the trauma should have been, like, it's been passed down. I hate that the fake historians have put all of these pictures of like those riots and things in black and white, and they've distorted all of these images to make it seem like, oh, this shit happened in the 1850s. Like, no, nigga, this was the 99s and the 2000s. Like, why y'all acting like juvenile them? What, like, this was not like this. It was not that long ago.
They want to make it so that it's why whenever anybody is like, I can't believe you're still talking about slavery. You're still talking about these things. It was so long ago. It really wasn't, dude.
It wasn't.
Like, even if you want to talk about slavery at the beginning and you're like, that was so long ago, 1776, 1619, these so long ago. I'm like, that's like only like 4 people. Like, you go back 4 people and then you hit that. That's not that long.
I'm right there. Right there. Great granddaddy just died. Like, let's be clear. Like, great granddaddy just died. Like, don't play in my face. My thing is, some of these places where people are getting married, these plantation weddings and all of this other bullshit, if we really dug up these houses, I wouldn't be surprised to find full remains of slaves. Like, let's not act.
They're still finding slave hair and furniture.
Come on.
You've
Like,
seen
are
those
y'all?
have you seen those pictures of like that black dude whose white partner had him taking like wedding photos in a cotton field? You not seen these?
I
I
have
gotta see if I
not.
can find these and I'll send them to you because they are insane.
But see, that would have been the end of the marriage for me. Because the fact that, first of all, we're not going anywhere near a plantation as Black people, let alone as an interracial couple. The fact that you even want to get married on a plantation, bitch, gonna make me look at you crazy. Like, I'm gonna look at you all types of crazy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the thing that was so funny. I remember being, in
The photos are worse than I remember. Oh my god, I need to
Christ.
send these to you. Oh my god. I'm gonna send them to you and hopefully we can get your live reaction on camera because wow, I am so happy I looked these up. Not because I'm happy I'm seeing these photos, but because oh my god, I just sent them to you on Instagram.
Oh my, see, this is me like giddy about, oh
These
my,
are wedding photos.
wait a minute. In my mind, that is not what that was gonna look like.
You
I
didn't
thought
think
they
they were
were
gonna
gonna
go
be
full slave?
regular wedding photos in a
Nope.
cotton field.
Nope, they went full slave.
I'm gonna need therapy.
For those listening to the audio version of this podcast, it is a interracial couple, a white woman and a black man. They are taking wedding photos in a cotton field, and the white woman is dressed up like in a colonial times
A
woman, and the
chambermaid. She looks
yeah,
like a fucking chambermaid.
and the black man is literally in chains, in raggedy clothes.
The Django style.
Yep, yep, straight out of
And
12 Years a Slave.
this this bitch has on a bonnet. She she has on a traditional Scotch bonnet and and a peasant gown.
What would you do if you got an invitation to a wedding and that was the photo on the invitation?
Oh, first of all, let me be very clear, Jovan. I would never be in that situation because I would never have friends that would ever even think that that was cool. Okay, I would just never. But in the hypothetical world where I have friends that even would allow that to be a situation that they would put me in, you would never hear from me again. That invitation would be the last time you spoke to me because there would be no more correspondence. We would never have anything else to talk about. We would have nothing else to talk about. Nothing.
It's so
That is the
crazy.
most coon buggery sambo bullshit I've ever seen in my fucking life. That I just what?
Kumbaya. Uh that's what by the way, not to talk about him again, but that's what we call that's what we call Joel. We all call him conservative. Before we run out of time today, Hope, where can people find you here on Beyonce's internet?
Child, in my grave after that last comment. But Lord, you can you can find me pretty much everywhere at Hope Giselle. My TikTok is Hope Giselle 1. But if you get lost, you can always go to hopegiselle.com and all of my socials and all that stuff are plugged into the website.
You got anything upcoming people should know about?
I do. So actually, I have my documentary, Not Your Average Girl. We are going on tour in 2026, courtesy of Soho House and Gilead Sciences. And so please, like, be on the lookout if you would like to see a film um, about transness that does not revolve exclusively around the stereotypes of stories that you've probably heard about trans people. I would love to have you. So just stay tuned to my Insta, my TikTok, all of that jazz, and my website. And tour dates and stuff will be dropping really, really soon.
Your
Um,
documentary, did I, because I saw it on your website, was I crazy? It's out already, right? People can already
no,
watch it. No, did I
no,
have the
not
dates
yet,
mixed
not
up?
yet.
I must have read your website wrong.
Yeah, no, it's not out already. You probably did read it right, but there's a flyer on there that I got to change the name of it because it does say that it's going to be released August 22nd. But
Oh, okay,
it's
yeah. I was okay. That's what it is. Okay.
don't pay that no attention. You know, black people shit. Okay,
Your
uh,
documentary is on CPT. It's
no,
just on
very
CPT.
much so. It really is. But it was because I needed to get more money. And so we waited
Yeah.
for the bag. The bag came. And so now we can do more, right? I want to make sure we give in luxury experiences here. But that is definitely a really big thing that I'm doing. I will also be at Creating Change, the Creating Change conference in January. I'm going to be doing a storytelling workshop around ways to, better be prepared to tell your story for Congress or at any of these town halls, school board meetings, things of that nature, without like resorting to trauma porn, because a lot of us tend to do that for the sake of being able to get through our stories. And then beyond that, there's a couple of other things that are escaping me right now. But if nothing else, if you enjoy this and you want to know how we got here, I have two books. One of them called Becoming Hope, Removing the Disguise, and the second one is called Until I Met Black Men. The second one is my favorite, but everybody loves the first one, even though it's full of fucking typos. Mind your business. I am a self-published author who didn't have ChatGPT. Mind your business, okay? But it's still a good read. I still stand by them both. They're my babies. But I also just got my first book deal, so no more self-publishing for the third book. So I'm really, really excited. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Hope. Thank you for joining us. Everybody, thank you for listening. Listen to the outro for more information